Hello, welcome back. Thanks, Dan, my sound engineer, playing some music from my generation. He wasn't born yet. So I'm Ken Smithers, professor here at the Wharton School, and you're listening to Your Money Business Radio, Sirius XM 111. For the rest of the show, you know the routine by now. I have a couple financial planners with me, just taking your calls about your own situation. So if you want to know how to invest your money, save for retirement, kids' college, life insurance, paying down debts, can you afford something? That were the guys to call. In particular, give us a call right now at 1-844-WHARTON. That's 1-844-942-7866. Welcome back to the show, Thomas Meyer, who is the CEO of Meyer Capital Group in Marlton, New Jersey. Is in fact the only advisor that joins me in the studio. It's great to have him every few months. He is the Chief Executive Officer for Meyer Capital Group, a fee-only investment management firm and financial planning firm. As I mentioned as previous times on the show, is frequently quoted in big outlets, Dow Jones Newswire, Barron's Investment News, and so forth. And it's been on the CNBC's Power Lunch, Squawk on the Street, and on the Money shows. Welcome back to the show, Tom.
Kent, great to be here in this beautiful studio.
Fantastic.
Always a pleasure.
The folks in New York are very happy to hear you say that.
There you go.
So I'll go back to the phone lines in just a minute here. Before doing that, Tom, just to remind us a little bit about your firm. If you have a typical client, what's he or she like?
Well, we are a fee-only investment advisor and have been for over 35 years. Yeah. My grandfather started in the business in 1963 as a fee-only RIA.
Yeah, not common back then.
No, not at all. It was all product. Yeah. And, our typical client is a family, business owners that really want to have a little bit more of a financial future, if you will. And we want to try and guide them to, go from point A to point B and let us do our job and deal with a fiduciary instead of a product.
Yeah, and it's an important distinction that you're dealing with somebody who legally and just in their heart and soul has your best interests in mind, rather than somebody who's just trying to sell you a product. I promise to go back to the phone lines. Remember, we're here live on Tuesday, so give me a call here at 1-844-WHARTON. That's 1-844-942-7866. Let me go to Edward in Florida. How can I help you, Edward?
Yes, thank you. I appreciate it. This is my situation. I am in the U.S. with a working visa, so I'll be here for less than 6 years. My employer has the 401k plan with a match up to 6%, which is good. I think it's tempting, but
yeah,
again,
very good.
I don't know if it is a good deal for me to invest as much as 6%, knowing that I will have to pay, probably higher taxes, given the fact that I will have to take my money rather quick in less than 6 years before I leave the country. So what's your advice?
Yeah, so just so I understand correctly, why do you feel like you have to take your money when you leave the country? And are you planning on coming back?
Is that within my plans? No.
Okay. And you feel like you have to take the money just because you're going to be forced to do it, or you just want to do it?
I guess I could translate that into a investment IRA or something like that and just keep it here. But sometimes I think for simplicity, in terms of not managing multiple accounts in multiple countries, maybe an option is just to take.
Sure. And how old are you, Edward?
38.
38, yeah. So you would, if you did a IRA rollover and then you try to walk with the money a little bit. You just try to convert it into cash. Yeah, you'll be paying a penalty at that point. So, Tom, your thoughts? Oh, I forgot to ask you, Edward. Are there any kind of vesting rules? You have to be around for an additional 2 years before the money today vests. I'm trying to think about the end date.
I don't follow you. Say that again.
Or do you face any vesting rules, like if in order to get the 6% match?
No, just 1 year after the first year.
Okay, so you probably
I am still with the that first year, So I'm just investing the minimum, but then I'm getting ready for the first year. So I want to know if I should go up or not.
Yeah. So Tom, this is a more complicated one. Your thoughts?
Well, first of all, Edward, I mean, that's 6% match. My God, that's just fantastic. And I would just so take advantage of that, outside of the whole tax scenario for 6 years, take advantage of that 6%, max it out if you can. But don't forget too, I mean, that 401k, you could stay in that. Even if you leave, they may allow you to stay in that 401k. That might be one thing you want to inquire. You wouldn't even have to roll that over to an IRA and then, of course, take it out if you want to, or if you need to. But I would definitely inquire if in fact you leave. I'm running into this to more and more where firms of previous employees, they allow them to stay put in the 401k. They don't make them to roll that over.
Yeah, it's a good point. And in particular, Edward, firms vary a lot. Some firms basically kind of push you out the door once you leave. Other firms allow you to stay, and in particular, as Tom just pointed out, a lot of times they want you to stay because sometimes the 401ks have higher fees associated with that, and if they have a larger base, they're able to get their fees per dollar invested a little bit lower. What I would have you really seriously consider is two factors. One, as Tom just pointed out, that a 6% match is a huge match. It's like 100%. Gain over just a few years. I mean, I would just be that's likely going to dominate any other arithmetic, and including penalties and so forth. And so it's almost certainly the case that that's going to be a good thing for you to take advantage of, even though you're leaving less than in 6 years. But the second thing to keep in mind is I don't know what your country you're from, but if you can, a lot of times foreigners want to actually open up accounts in the United States, and they have a hard time doing it. They're looking for some hook to actually be able to open up an account in the United States. So if you can just park money here for the next 20, 30 years, and maybe I tend to like rollover IRAs just because they have lower fees, and it's easier for you to kind of log into your Vanguard or Fidelity account or something, and they kind of look at the money and maybe even rebalance over time and so forth. But putting that aside, if you can have kind of an internationally diversified account that is located in another country, that sometimes is a good thing. I mean, because you never know what's going to kind of happen in your own country and stability and so forth. So I'm not convinced that it's something that you should kind of worry about taking with you when you leave the country. Is that helpful, Edward?
It was great advice.
Thank you. Thanks so much for calling, Edward. Really appreciate it, and good luck with all your doings, in particular moving back to your original country. And speaking with Tom Meyer, who again is CEO of Meyer Capital Group in Wharton, New Jersey. Remember, we are live on Tuesdays here at 1-844-WHARTON. That's 1-844-942-7866. Let me go to Tashim in New Jersey. How are you doing, Tashim?
I'm great. How are you?
Great. How can I help you?
Great. So I work for a small company. Unfortunately, we don't have a retirement plan. So the little money that I am saving, I just opened up an IRA Roth.
Yeah.
Vanguard.
Yeah. Good.
So I elected to pay taxes up front instead of paying taxes when I retire.
Yeah.
And I just want to see how could I get more advice on my financial future.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's great. I mean, so tell me a little bit more about yourself. In particular, what's your income today, and where do you see it kind of going in the future?
My income today, I gross around $80,000 a year. In the future, I see it going up. I'm currently an electrician. I'm actually going to school to become a licensed electrician.
Good.
I do a lot of work for the government, so I can't see it going down. I can't see it nowhere. I can't see it but going up from there.
Good. Yeah, because that certainly affects, when you want to do the Roth. We like to do that during kind of lower income days. So I'm glad you're thinking about that. And then secondly is, how are you paid? Are you a W-2 or do you get as an independent contractor?
I'm a W-2.
You're a W-2. Okay, that limits some options there. I mean, I'll turn over to Tom in just a second for his thoughts. But the one thing I would tell you, So seriously, maybe have a conversation with HR. That might be your boss. Is many hats. It's so much easier today for companies to create 401k plans, even small companies to create 401k plans, and even 10, 15 years ago, and it can create a huge benefit for you. So maybe at some point you have that conversation with your boss about that. But Tom, it's a common scenario. A lot of times, smaller employers, people don't have access to a 401k account. So it sounds like Tashim maybe has, he's hit the Roth up to the limit. He wants to figure out how to save more.
Yeah, I want to make sure, Tashim, you did max that out, the Roth?
I didn't quite max it out. I just recently opened it up and started investing into it.
Ah, okay. So my bad. Then what are you trying to achieve? How to do more than the Roth, or what are you trying to do?
I'm just trying to get more advice on how. I mean, maxing it out is. I think you can do only $5,000 a year.
Right.
How old are you?
I'm 36.
Yeah.
5,000. So what do you think, Tom? If he wants to do more, because it's good income.
Great income.
Yeah.
Great income. How's your other situation? How's your debt situation?
My debt is not bad. I only have one card. I think total debt is maybe $30,000 on my car payment and credit cards.
Oh, credit card. Tell us a little bit more about that one.
Let's talk about that.
Okay. Well, I have about maybe 4 credit cards, but I'm like using less than 30%. So my credit's going up. I'm making payments every month.
Okay, but how much debt? How much credit card debt?
Not a lot at all. It's less than maybe 10,000.
10,000. Okay, but keep in mind those are going to be pretty high rates. Tom, your thoughts?
Yeah. If you attack those credit cards, I mean, you're going to have a guaranteed, 15% rate of return.
Yeah.
Is that a constant $10,000 balance, and then you just pay the minimum?
Well, no, I'm paying more than the minimum. Minimum is like $25. I pay like $100 a month on each card.
Yeah, that's still not eating into that debt very fastly. Yeah,
Not really.
Yeah, so now you've got that balancing act of you want to put away for retirement, but at the same time, it's just eating away on the credit card side. Let me ask you: are you married?
No, I'm single.
You're single. Okay. I got to tell you, I would really attack that credit card.
Yeah.
I would look at that 10,000 and here's the big question, Tashim. Okay, you pay down the credit card. Is it going to stay down?
Oh yes, of course. My future is important to me.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
You got your whole thought process is in the right on the right track. It's just that 10,000. I have to tell you, I think it supersedes even putting more into the Roth.
Yeah,
I don't know if you agree with that.
No, I completely agree with that. In particular, it would be one thing to Tashim if you're getting this huge match, and then maybe that would balance things out a little bit. But Tom's exactly right. When you're paying off credit card debt, it's like you're getting a risk-free return at that interest rate that you're paying. And we know credit card debt, one reason it's unsecured debt is you essentially have no real collateral behind it. So it's a very high rates. So that's the one we want to tackle first. And you're going to be saving a lot of money by paying that off. And so if you're single, you're making $80,000 a year, there's a good chance you could just pay off this credit card debt, within 3, 4, 5, 6 months if you're really willing to tighten your belt. And at that point, come back to the Roth IRA. And if at that point you max out the Roth IRA, we can talk about other options about how to open up a brokerage account and, how to properly invest in a brokerage account versus kind of a Roth IRA. But pay down the credit card debt, have that conversation with your employer in the meantime. Maybe it'll take them 6 months to set up a 401k. But by that point, you'll have that credit card debt all wiped out. Is that helpful, Tashim?
Oh, that's great advice. Thanks so much, guys. How do I keep getting advice from you guys? Is there a number or office I can visit?
You just called it. It's called 1-844-Wharton, and that's how you get advice. So we occasionally have a repeat caller, so that which we welcome. It's great. So thanks so much for calling, Tashim. Really appreciate it. Again, speaking with Tom Meyer, CEO of Meyer Capital Group in Marlton, New Jersey. Remember, live on Tuesdays here at 1-844-Wharton. That's 1-844-942-7866. And let me go to, let's see, Don in PA. How can we help you, Don?
Yeah, Ken, I really enjoy your program. Here's my situation is I'm a federal worker. I've been working for 29 years. Probably going to work another 10 years. I'm 54 years old, single. I'm making about $78,000. In my TSP right now, I got about $615,000. An IRA, the Roth IRA, around $115,000. Then,
do you have the TSP plan?
Yeah.
Okay, is that where the 615 is?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
And I don't know if you heard the Roth, 115.
Yep.
And then mutual funds for around 50 to 60,000.
Okay.
A mortgage right now of around 78,000 to pay, and about 10,000 on a car you have to pay.
Okay.
What I've been doing is putting approximately 575 to 580 every pay period in the TSP, but I've been skipping the Roth. Is that the way to go or not?
Yeah. So thanks for all those facts. So let me ask you, you're at that age as a federal worker. You know, the federal government was really kind of phasing out the traditional pension plans. Where are you on that? In particular, do you have on top of your access to the TSP account also a federal pension?
Yep.
Okay. And do you have a sense of how much that's going to pay you during retirement?
Roughly, if I wait to 62, I'm thinking that's between $3,000 and $4,000 a month.
A month, okay. Okay, good. So you're kind of at that cusp age. I worked at the federal government as well, and I was kind of below that, and I did not have access to a pension. Okay, so Tom, your thoughts. In particular, the question is, should he be kind of skipping Roth payments in order to kind of focus on kind of mortgage car?
Wow. First, Don, you're doing a great job, by the way. Fantastic. 54, you're really teeing yourself up to when you eventually want to retire. Yeah. If you do retire, maybe from the government, but you may want to still work. You know, you're looking at the $10,000 car payment, right?
And what was the interest rate in the car payment, Tom, Don?
I think that's around 6%.
Okay. Sorry, I forgot to ask that.
And how long?
It's going to be another 3 more years. That's for 5 years. I paid 2 years on it already.
And the $78,000 mortgage, what rate is that?
Around 3%.
3, very nice. And what did you do? A 15 or a 30-year?
No, it was an adjustable mortgage for 30 years.
Oh,
okay.
It's adjustable. Interesting. Okay, that changes things.
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
Yeah, you want to look at that whole adjustable mortgage rate. I mean, do you know exactly what kind of adjustable rate that is?
Every 5 years, it adjusts.
Okay, and is that capped? Do you know?
Yes, it is.
And what's the cap?
Do you know what the cap is?
I think the cap is it can go up 2%, up to I think either between 6 and 7 would be the most.
Okay.
And what's the equity you have in your home?
I would say 25, 30,000.
Okay. All right. So let's get back to the whole TSP versus Roth. So remember on the TSP, that money's coming out before taxes. Okay. You pay taxes after when you want to go ahead and eventually take money out. Okay. When you have to at the age of 70 and a half. You got the Roth, which by the way is great. You got $115K in the Roth, which you'll never have to take out. So let's think about this and weigh the options. I think at this point, you got $615K. I might want to go ahead and beef up your Roth outside of the TSP.
Yeah, and in particular, I assume you're probably getting some match for the TSP, and you certainly want to keep on getting that. What's one wonderful thing about the TSP? It's dirt cheap. 2 basis points. I mean, it's incredible. But yeah, I mean, I think certainly boosting up your Roth, but at the same time, this $10,000 car payment at 6%, I getting a 6% risk-free return on the bond these days. I mean, should he try
not going to happen.
Yeah.
So I mean, you can go ahead and focus on that. I was looking at maybe the mortgage when he looked at that adjustable. I'm thinking, hey, you could maybe roll the $10,000 into that at 3%, on a 15-year loan if he had that type of equity.
Yeah.
Hey, Don, that Roth, where's your Roth invested?
American funds.
Okay.
Yeah.
So American funds. Now, did you go through an advisor or through a broker?
Broker.
Yeah, it had to be a broker.
No, believe it or not, fee-only advisors get American funds NAV.
All right.
So just to let you know, you got to check that, right?
Yeah.
Things have changed a lot in the last 5 years. Well, I know what Ken's going to say. Mm-hmm. I don't want to put words in your mouth, so go ahead.
Yeah, in particular, but my hit list for you, Don, I think Tom and I are on the same page here. Is that getting that car paid off is a 6% guaranteed return. I mean, you're just not going to get some type of bond in the market paying that. So I'd be trying to aggressively paying that off. I would still be trying to make good contributions to your TSP just because of the tax preference there. But the 6% risk-free return on the car payment, that would be my highest priority. The second thing is you have enough equity in your home. I would be thinking about trying to do a refinance at this point, or maybe trying to convert that to a fixed rate equity in particular, or a fixed rate mortgage. And you could probably convert from 3% your variable rate to something like 3.5, 3.25 fixed rate, because you in fact have so much equity in your home. So I'd be trying to do that at the same time. If you could not do that, then the mortgage is something I would be thinking about as well. But I think Tom and I agree that certainly getting some more money in that Roth over time. But I would just be focusing at least this next 6 months, 9 months on just getting rid of that car payment, because you're not going to get any other deal like that with the other options. Is that helpful, Don?
Yeah, the thing is, Ken, the money that's going in the TSP is going in the Roth TSP.
Yeah, okay. Yeah,
So
which is a
that-
new option.
I
Yeah.
didn't know it was the Roth TSP.
Yeah, that's
so
very few people are doing that yet because they just introduced that. But so that's smart, Don. So I mean, but nonetheless, what I would be doing there, and I should have asked you that because I knew that in the back of my head, but just so few people have taken advantage of that yet. I just assumed you had not. So, but yeah, I mean, either way, I would be focused on the car payment first. Try to refinance that house. Likely you can get a fixed rate at 3.5, 3.25. I'm therefore comfortable. You just kind of making the minimum payments on that, and then focusing the rest of your action on the TSP Roth option, or even your outside Roth option. By the way, if you don't hit the limits on your TSP, and you said you're age 54, so you can actually go up all the way to $24,000 in contributions every year, given your age. I would actually be taking advantage of the TSP plan before the Roth, because the TSP plan is just so cheap, and it's even a better deal. But we're gonna have to take a quick break. Thanks so much for calling, Don. Really appreciate it. And when we come back, I promise to go right back to the phone lines and taking more of your calls. I'm Kent Smithers, Business Radio, powered by the Wharton School here in Sirius XM 111. Again, taking your calls about your own financial situation. So if you want to know how to invest your money, save for retirement, kids' college, life insurance, anything about your money, you know the number by now. It's 1-844-WHARTON. That's 1-844-942-7866. More with Tom Meyer right after this.
You're listening to Your Money on Business Radio, powered by the Wharton School. Here again is Professor Kent Smethers.
Hello and welcome back. You're listening to Your Money. I'm Kent Smethers, and this is Business Radio, Sirius XM 111. We're going into our second hour of the show, Your Money. And as a reminder, we are live every Tuesdays from 5 to 7 p.m. Eastern. So if you want to know if you can afford something in particular, or you just have a question about your investments, or Wondering if you saved enough for your kids' college or your own retirement, whatever it is about your finances, just give me a call and we'll talk about it. Here with me in this segment, in fact, live in the studio, is Tom Meyer, the CEO of Meyer Capital Group in New Jersey, doing a great job answering your questions. Remember, the number is 1-844-WHARTON, just like the school name, WHARTON. That's 1-844-942-7866. I promise to go back to the phone lines. Let me do that right now with Jack in Georgia. How can we help you, Jack?
Hey, thanks for taking my call.
Sure.
I've got a question. I'm currently an active duty Army officer, and I'm trying to see at what point my financial earning ability outside of the military will outweigh the benefits of being in the military with the retirement and the medical benefits and part of the pay being tax-free. So just trying to identify that point at which it would actually make sense to get out.
Yeah, in fact, I had actually a student. First, Jack, thanks so much for your service. Thanks for
the support.
Yeah, and it's I had an MBA student who is also in the military at the same time, and this is probably 8 or 9 years ago. He set up this fancy spreadsheet, and in his case, given his MBA salary that he was projecting, he actually found that, as you know, if you're in 20 years for the military, you get the full, retirement benefit. He actually found that the break-even number of years was about 17. That is, if he was actually had a service below 17 years, he was actually better off financially not being in the military than if he was in the military. Just three-year difference between that and full retirement. And in his case, he actually had a very big outside option. He was going to make a very good kind of salary. So it really comes down to, Jack, what is the outside option? So what do you think, how much money do you think you can make outside of the military? How much more?
Right. Well, the kind of analysis I've done was probably about $30,000 more I'd need. But I've got a systems engineering degree from West Point, so I'd probably pursue a job. I guess my first thought would be trying to get a job over $110,000.
Okay, so you need a bump in salary of $30,000, given the numbers you put together, for it to be worth it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so what are you making right now as an officer?
With all the pay together, it's approximately $84,000 before taxes.
$84,000. Okay, so before taxes. So in particular, 110. Do you think it's feasible to get the 110?
Based on a couple conversations I've had with people in the industry, I think that's pretty feasible for the first year. Yes.
First year. And how many years in the military have you been?
It'll be 5 in May.
5 in May. Okay, so we're not talking about 15 or something like that.
Right.
Tom, your thoughts?
How about family? Where do you stand as far as kids, married?
Right. So I'm married with no kids, and I think my wife owns a business that's completely mobile, so it's perfect for the military or getting out. It's based out of Chicago, but it can literally go anywhere. So really the happiness level, I think, would be the same staying in or getting out. It's really just, whether or not, I'd be able to make an astronomical amount more, obviously, getting out or staying in would kind of be the simple way to just keep a baseline income and continue to save for the future.
Yeah.
You want to, obviously, you have something money can't buy, and that's called youth. Mm-hmm. Love youth. Your wife's business. Tell me about that.
She's an independent contractor for pre-employment criminal background screening out of Cook County.
Okay. Is it her business? Did you say?
She owns it. It's an LLC. She hires independent contractors in Cook County and finds bigger nationwide background screening companies to basically pay her to do the job.
And does she have any type of retirement plan associated with that business?
Not through them, no. But we do put 100% of her income away for savings.
Oh, boy, I would take advantage of that business. You could do an individual 401k right off the bat.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that's really easy to set up nowadays.
Vanguard.
Yeah, and you can. What's beautiful about it is you can make fairly large contributions into a tax deferred account. So Tom, I guess where I'm coming down on this with Jack is that yes, he needs another $30,000 unless he thinks he can make it. But there's another advantage of the private sector is just the upside is so much greater, and in particular, his officer salary $84,000. That's not going to go up to $200,000 unless he's going 4-star general or something like that. I mean,
hey, you never know, Jack. You never know.
You never know. But the upside is certainly a lot bigger on the private side. That's I guess where I'd be leaning. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, no, I would think so too. I mean, and again, thank you for your service. I don't know deep inside where you want to go with that. And mentally, if you're prepared to go ahead into the private sector, but I think with your degree, I think what Ken said is very true. Your options outside could quite frankly probably dwarf what you're making right now in the military.
Yeah, and I hate to talk people out of the military, especially if they went to West Point, and you've invested so much time into kind of your skill set for the military. But to answer your question, and not the national question, but the Jack question here, it's likely you're better being outside in the private sector from a strict financial perspective, because like you said, you probably can get a starting salary that replaces it, but just simply the growth path is so much more high potential there. You'll probably also have access to a 401k and a new job in the same way you have access to the TSP in the military. So I'm not so worried about that one. It really comes down to, Jack, what type of life you want to and lifestyle that you want to live. I mean, if you are really jazzed up about doing military stuff, it definitely would not be a mistake. You have a decent enough salary, you would get the pension benefit in another 15 years, and you could go off and do another job at that point. I think it's one of those things that financially you're probably better off not being in the military. But if you really love being in the military, it's certainly you're making a good enough income, and the benefits are good enough in 15 years that it wouldn't be a mistake to stay either. So I think it comes down to a lot of what you want to do. What is it that you want to do?
Yeah, I think I'm leaning obviously towards getting out. I think, or else I wouldn't have called.
Yeah. That's what I imagine as well. So I think that's like likely your best option there. So thanks so much for the call, Jack. Really appreciate it. And again, thanks so much for your service. With shows like this and everything else that we do exists simply because of men and women like you in the military. Is speaking with, again, Tom Meyer, who's in studio, is CEO of Meyer Capital Group in Marlton, New Jersey. Again, you know the number by now, but I'll say it anyway. It's 1-844-WHARTON. That's 1-844-942-7866. And let me go to Mike in New York. How can I help you, Mike?
I can. Thanks a lot for taking the call.
Sure.
I have some excess cash, I call it, or accumulated cash in a bank account earning about 1%.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to find out what to do with it. I've been sitting on the sidelines a bit for the market, thinking that we're going to get a bear market pretty soon, and it just seems to never come.
Yeah.
The bonds are, scary low rates right now. I have a mortgage, thinking about maybe paying that down. Mortgage interest rate is about 2.75. I got about 12 years left. So I was wondering if I should pay that down or find a muni bond that's going out about 7-8 years with a similar after-tax rate and put it in there as opposed to paying it down. Just kind of general thoughts on where the best place to put it these days.
Yeah, it sounds like you're potentially risk averse, and you're looking for kind of safer, fairly safe but not guaranteed safe, but paying a little bit of a higher interest rate. Tell me more specifically, how much money are we talking about in the bank?
I have about $250 in the bank now.
Okay, and what's your household income?
Household income's about $350.
Okay.
And I have 401ks and investments. Probably the investment mix is about 70% stock, maybe 30% bonds.
Mm-hmm.
So I was kind of a little hesitant to go much more into stocks with the potential bear market. Upon it.
And your income, how variable is your income?
Pretty stable.
Pretty stable. And what's your kind of monthly expenses like?
Probably about $6,000 a month.
6,000. Okay, so this is not just the case that you happen to have this money in a bank account, in the sense that this is going to be an ongoing issue, because you definitely have very good positive cash flow that you're going to have to figure out kind of what to do with. And you're currently making contributions through things like you're maxing out your 401k and things like that?
Maxing out the 401k. My wife is maxing out the 401k to get around some tax avoidance. I've got some deferred annuities to defer some of the gain there. Kids' education pretty much paid for in a 529. So just kind of seeing how to avoid taxes, how to get some return more than the 1% taxable.
And then, absolutely. And my last question, you said your mortgage at 2.7%. Is that a variable rate?
No, that's fixed.
2.7% fixed.
It was probably, my dad was a 15,
probably
right?
15,
down to 12.
It was 15 years. I refinanced about 3 years ago.
Okay, got it.
Good timing.
Yeah, it was. Tom, your thoughts?
Wow, Mike, great job. My goodness.
Yeah.
But this is a big problem today for risk-averse investors.
Yeah.
Where to go? You don't get paid in cash. A muni bond, to me, I don't think is the answer here. In an 8-year muni bond, that's a high-quality bond, you're not even going to get 1%. Yeah. You'll be lucky to get 80 basis points. That's how crazy it is out there. Your mortgage at 2.7%, I mean, for 12 years, if you put that money to work in a very conservative portfolio, believe me, I mean, after your tax deduction, you're probably going to pay maybe 2. I mean, it's a good. I wouldn't look to pay that debt off. I think that is what we call good debt.
Yeah.
Mike, do you have any other debt, or is that it?
That's about it. I didn't catch the last thing. Did you say you should pay the debt off or not pay it off?
No, at 2.7%, and you're getting a mortgage deduction more than likely. It's almost like free money. However, if it's going to sit in cash earning nothing, then I would be with you to look at probably paying down that debt. If you're not going to put that money to work and that cash is just sitting there, you're going to get a guaranteed 2.7% that you're not getting now.
Yeah. So if he's not paying down the mortgage, you don't want him to go in the munis. Where should he just be content with the 1% in his bank, or what would you do?
You know, I'm sorry, Mike, and how old are you?
56.
56. Okay.
All right.
Now, I personally would look at, I'm just going to throw out, you look at some of the Vanguard's balanced funds that are just so conservative. You look at, a short intermediate term bond and do almost like what you're doing in your 401k, or maybe you can flip it. Stay very short term on the bond side and add some like a Wellesley fund or a Wellington fund, something like that. That is not going to keep you up at night if the market blows up, but at least get that money to work. Otherwise, as I said, I mean, you're maxing out your 401k. How about outside IRAs, by the way?
I have some IRAs from rollovers, but I can't really contribute given the income level.
Well, you can. You just can't go into a deductible IRA.
Right, and that's why I went into bought some deferred annuities at a fairly low fee.
Yeah.
I think it was 25 basis points, so that was kind of my way around that. The other option I have is a universal life policy that I've been pumping money into. I got a 4.75 interest rate on that, but that's getting up there. I have about $200,000 in that policy, and I really don't want to go any more in that.
Yeah, and in particular, some of those policies have fairly high fees. It just depends. Again, we'll have a product provider on the show probably in the next month or two with a UL policy that actually happened. Like, I am not a big fan of a lot of them out there. So, Tom, I think we're probably on the same page here, in the sense that here's how I would order things, Mike. The first one is that you definitely want to have some cash. It's great that your income's stable. You want to have some cash, and we usually talk about 3 to 6 months worth of expenses of cash. I mean, and you're high, definitely. I wouldn't be worried about trying to drain your bank account. I'd be at least have let's just call it $50,000 of money kind of sitting in the bank. But the second point is that I think you want to take a holistic portfolio view here, in the sense that, exactly where you put the other $200,000. The real question is, what are you going to potentially need that money for? Are you going to need it for additional emergencies beyond that 50,000, or is this, given that you're age 56, essentially money that you're still going to go into retirement with anyway? And so if the horizon is kind of longer term, then the way I would be thinking about this is actually not worrying about putting that money to work in the market, because you would open up a brokerage account, a taxable brokerage account. You'd put some of that money into the stock market, and you say, okay, well, I'm afraid of stock risk. Okay, but how you deal with that is that on your 401k level, you dial some of the stocks down and more bonds in that account. And so what you're doing there is that you're still stabilizing kind of the overall risk that you're currently taking. In particular, that $200,000 that you maybe put in the stock market, you dial down $200,000 in your 401k. And what that does is that it kind of keeps your whole portfolio fairly constant, but it's also being tax efficient, because the money that's being generated in your 401k, something like, as Tom mentioned, the Vanguard Bond Fund, which is a great way to go. That type of income that's being generated in your 401k, you're not going to be taxed on it, but then you're going to be just making sure you don't turn over that $200,000 that's maybe sitting in a stock market account too much, and so that you don't realize a lot of tax gains. And something like a Vanguard Total Stock Market Fund is good there. So again, don't think about this $250,000 in isolation. Think about the entire portfolio. You can maintain your current balance essentially between risk and risk-free, or risk and low risk, I should say, while actually kind of being tax efficient. Is that helpful, Mike?
It is. It sounds like you guys are against munis to some extent.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I mean, again, if you want the highest quality geo munis out there, it's like I said, you're looking at, you can go out 5 to 7 years and get 85 basis points.
Yeah. Munis are typically, you have to be, you're probably in the highest income tax bracket. The only contenders are people in the highest income tax bracket, because those are the guys who establish the prices anyway. And then on top of that, really, in-state munis, and just it has to be in a very particular situation where there's particular reasons maybe why you would want to do that. But for the average person out there, Tom's right, there's just so much money that's flooded in the munis that you're not going to be doing better even on an after-tax basis than a bank account. So thanks so much for the call, Mike. Really appreciate it. Again, speaking with Tom Meyer, doing a great job answering your calls here at 1-844-WHARTON. That's 1-844-942-7866. And let me go to Hank in Rhode Island. How can I help you, Hank?
Hey, guys. Thanks for taking my call.
Great.
Hey, 37 years old, have a net worth of about $3 million, and putting away about $100,000 to $200,000 a year into various investments, in addition to the net worth number I quoted. I want to retire as soon as I can, and looking for some advice on how much I need to save to live off interest. With a spending habit of about $300,000 a year.
$300,000 a year. Okay, so tell me,
living the high life.
Yeah, you've made me intrigued. 37 years old, $3 million. So you say net worth. I mean, how much of this is an actual kind of liquid assets?
About 2.2 is liquid today.
Okay, and the rest is like real estate, something like that.
The rest is real estate, correct.
Okay. And then what's your kind of your annual income?
Annual income is between 4 and 5, depending on the year, 400 and 500,000.
But man, you must hate your job.
I love it.
You love it.
I just want to be on the beach.
You just want to be on the beach. You love something more, because I say that's you're doing well for yourself. What's your target age for retirement?
Now.
ASAP.
ASAP. Okay. Well, you're not quite there yet, but Tom, your thoughts?
Oh, the biggest, Hank, awesome. I mean, I love to hear this. This is great. However, Hank, your biggest problem is a great problem, and that is you're 37 years old. And this money sounds great now, but what happens, God willing, that you're going to live until 90? I mean, you want to, drink the pina coladas and sit on the beach. That's the way to do it. But, I think that you got to take a step back and say, okay, how am I going to make this last? If I retire today, how am I going to make this last another 50 years?
So my producer just sent me a little text message. Does he need a wife? How you doing, Hank?
No, I do not.
No, we tried. Oh, I'm totally teasing. I mean, the fact of the matter is, you should be planning to live to age 100, unless there's something that you know for sure about yourself that's not consistent with that. But your age, your generation, and all that good vitamin K that you're going to be getting sitting on the beach and so forth. You're going to be you should really be planning on kind of living to 100. And at $300,000 a year, literally, if you had $10 million today, you would not be able to afford $300,000 a year safely, just through interest income for the rest of your life. And so what I would encourage you to do is maybe, try to push that up to maybe age 45 or something like that. Gotta get more in the ballpark. At that point, if you got 10 million at that point, which you could possibly do, I mean, who knows? But maybe even 6 or 7 million, I would be more comfortable, because you've done two things. You've accumulated more assets, and you've in fact essentially reduced the amount of time that you're going to need those assets for. So I would be trying to focus, you're a tremendous saver, which is really great. But what I would be doing is try to save even more, cut back on your current consumption, try to live frugally, get that liquid assets up to at least $6 or $7 million by age 45. Then I think you can start to think about kind of retiring more comfortably. The numbers just aren't quite there yet. But thanks so much for the call, Hank. I'd love to go back and forth with you, but we're at the end of this segment, and I promise I'll be going back to the phone lines right after a short break. But Tom, want to thank you again for coming on the show once again. Fantastic job.
Kent, it's always a pleasure. I love hearing these phone calls. Awesome.
Excellent. And so you can find out more about Tom by going online to his website, MeyerCG.com. Again, Meyer spelled Meyer, CG.com. And you're listening to Your Money, Kent Smithers, Business Radio, powered by the Wharton School, Sirius XM 111. When we come back, more of your calls, answering your questions about how to save your money, investing, paying down debts, otherwise, managing your money. And we'll be welcome back to the show, Pat Cote, and taking your calls again at 1-844